Sweet. Welcome,
Thank
Valentina Riabova.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here on the Two Fun Guys show.
Likewise.
Thank you. Thank you. So, tattooing. Let's start there. What was your first tattoo, actually? That's what I'm curious about.
I got a scorpion on my wrist, but then since I was just starting tattooing, some friends, colleagues, they were making fun of it. They said, no, you should get a serious, like a real sleeve. And so I lasered it. But I regret to laser it.
You got rid of the scorpion?
The first one, yeah. Now I have scars there.
How old were you when you got that first tattoo?
18.
18? Did you want tattoos when you were even younger than that?
Not really. No, I was even doubting to get first one. But a few years after, maybe 2-3 years after, I just started to get many of them. But mainly it was to learn from artists. So it's the best way to learn from somebody is to become their friend through getting tattooed by them and trusting their art.
Wow.
So is most of the work on you, is this from one artist or have you jumped around quite a bit?
Different artists just to pick up the brain of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is smart because I bet a lot of tattoo artists, they end up getting tattoos from like the same person. And they've always told me like, I wish I got more art from different people. So that's
Usually
Yeah.
it looks better if it's one artist because one person can plan the whole composition.
for sure.
But because I studied art, so I planned myself what it would look like. And I just got tattooed by people who have similar styles but different approach to technique.
That's very smart. I just sent it when I was 18 and just got one tattoo and then got another tattoo. And that style of like I have a sleeve, but then I have a random piece here and a piece here and a piece there. And nothing makes any sense. And if I could go back in time, I would pre-plan a little bit more.
You can always do
the
black work.
tattoos.
I
could just black it all out and
Yeah, I like black
start fresh.
work.
Yeah.
Was your first tattoo when you were in Russia?
Yeah, I was in Russia until I was 20, maybe 5 or 4.
What was the tattoo culture around Russia at that time?
In Russia, it's quite big. There is a lot of like tattoo supply stores, a very high competition between artists, and the art level in general is very high. I would say in the world, there's Italy and Russia that are first in visual arts.
Really?
And maybe not digital, but classic one.
What was the style at the time in Russia that was kind of popular? Or is it so varied?
I'm not really sure because I did mostly realistic since the beginning, so I only paid attention to realistic scene, how it was there, but it's very big because we have a lot of like very pale skin that shows color very well.
Oh,
We tattooed a lot of realistic.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you said Italy and Russia were the top countries for visual art. Do you mean tattoos specifically or just
Tattooing
in
and
general?
painting, sculpture, like
Got it.
classical,
Okay.
everything that you do by hand that has to do with visual arts.
Visual arts? Got it. Okay. Makes sense. So is the tattoo culture in Russia and Italy, are they kind of similar or are they totally different?
They're quite different. I would say every teacher that I asked in Russia about American or Italian painter that I liked, they would criticize everything. They would say, no, it's completely wrong. Russia has in general this approach that in art school, we criticize everything all the time. We learn to criticize. So
Yeah.
this way you grow your own inner critic that you can, like by criticizing your own work, you can grow and develop. And so when I started tattooing, it was a big shock for me that in this culture, people don't ever say anything negative about each other's work. And in our art school, it's a good manner to do that.
I feel like that's Russian culture in general. It's just to
Maybe.
criticize shit.
Directness. Yeah.
To be very direct.
Well, so what about tattoos? What got you hooked? Like you got the first one and then how soon after did you get to the next one and why did you start getting more?
I don't know how censored YouTube is, but BDSM aspect of tattooing took me there.
Oh, like
I stayed in it. Yeah, that I can inflict pain and control someone's state of being, how they feel. Also, like make an impact and leave a mark on them. It's very BDSM-ish. But in general, like visual arts plus loving some extreme cultures, extreme sports, and hard music, heavy music. This made me stay probably. But I never really planned to become a tattoo artist.
Take us into the world of BDSM. So when you say tattooing, the reason you have a connection to it is because of BDSM. What does that mean?
What does that mean? So there is one good book that I read that I think explains a lot of it. Is a book about power exchange and in general navigating, like leading people, which explains that mostly people feel happy when they're fully led or fully like leading someone, fully occupying one role and not having what they call a smoosh when it's like in between.
Mm-hmm.
So when, for example, somebody's asking for a raise at work, but they don't feel like they are worth it, or they deserve it. In this case, it's like a smoosh. So the body language says opposite from what you say with your words. And so this book is explaining that if you train yourself to occupy fully one or another position, you will feel the best, and people around you will feel best as well. And I think BDSM is an art form of navigating emotions and thoughts of people in this way, that one person is taking all the responsibility and all the guidance, and the other person then becomes a follower, and both people enjoy the process.
That makes sense. I mean, you're in BDSM, right? One person's fully surrendered, one is fully in control. And I guess it is very similar in tattooing.
Yeah, because the client, he only gets the experience, he only gets to be there, but he doesn't decide anything, basically. Of course, he gives consent in the beginning, just like in BDSM, to the project. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you have clients that want to work with you in both aspects, tattoo and kink?
Yeah, a few. Not many, but yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe I have many, but I don't know about it. Probably.
Yeah, they want it, but they're not asking for it.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Yeah. Part of, like, what do you think about people that go under anesthesia and get tattoos? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I did it once.
You went under anesthesia, or you?
No, I was tattooing in a project like this in California. We were maybe 7 artists.
Wow.
It was interesting as an experience, but when you're 7 people, it's very uncomfortable. Like, you're constantly under somebody's needle, and you risk to get like pinched, or what's the word? Hit by the needle.
It's like a pit crew trying to change the tires. It's like everyone's got to be in sync.
Yeah, it's quite uncomfortable, but makes sense for like football players. Like, we had one soccer player, and he had a big game in 1 week, and he would like to heal so many tattoos at once and not just fly in every time and spend so much time on getting tattooed. Like, he got the full back and full leg during one procedure, so it makes sense for them.
Yeah, I guess you're not supposed to sweat, or like when you first get a tattoo, you're not supposed to keep it submerged in water, right? Or
it has to be clean and
sweating all the time,
quite dry.
Is it like if you sauna? That's one reason. Like, I want to get a back piece, but you're like, it's a huge commitment. I can see, like, if you could get it all done at once, you can heal faster and get back to like you wouldn't be able to do jiu-jitsu for a long time. Yeah, because you couldn't roll. And if you every month you got another piece of work, it would take forever to be able to do anything.
Yeah,
I still wouldn't go under.
Huh? You do jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, sometimes. I have shoulder injuries, so now I'm swapping jiu-jitsu out for yoga until I can heal my shoulders, and then I'll go back.
Yeah, it's the yin energy of the BJJ game.
Exactly.
And do you?
No, but I like jiu-jitsu because many people who do jiu-jitsu, they practice Shibari as well, the rope bondage, because it's very bodily practice, very body-oriented practice. So
you just let people put you in a chokehold, and you're like, this feels so nice.
Yeah, it's body handling.
There's a great BJJ school right there. Vow BJJ. Is your spot really close to here?
South Congress.
South Congress. Oh, that's a great spot. That's really great.
Give it a shout out. What's the spot you tattoo?
Yeah, I just opened the studio 1 month ago. Sharp Objects Tattoo.
Amazing.
And I'm looking for the team. I take my time with it. For now, I work mostly alone with guest artists. And I'm excited to be in Austin. It's my first studio.
That's cool. Did you come from LA?
No, I was in New York before.
Okay. So have you been in Europe the whole time before this?
So I lived in Russia until I was 25. Then I moved to Germany, lived there for 4 years. Then moved to France for a year, Paris. Then from there, New York, 2.5 years. And now in Austin for less than a year.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on Austin compared to Paris and Germany?
I always loved Mexico, and I feel like Austin reminds me a lot about it. Nature and some vibe, has something. Like Tulum, for example, very hipster place.
Yeah.
I feel like Austin is the same.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, it's got the kind of like, there's like a circuit in the world where there's kind of a similar vibe. Like if you kind of go to Bali, then Austin, then Tulum, and probably maybe parts of Greece and whatnot. There's
maybe.
It's kind of like a little interconnected web of people.
Yeah, so I like it. It's my first place where I would live, where it's warm all the time, most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time. Always cold countries before.
Have you been here during the summer?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what's going to happen.
I mean, August I go visit my family in Russia, so I avoid August.
Smart.
That's a great time to go.
Yeah.
So what's it must be so interesting and exciting. It's fun to go to different cultures and you get to see how people interact and think differently. How would you say like a Russian mindset of living and thinking is so different as you're interacting with people here in Austin? Like interesting cultural differences. They could be from just funny things people do when they eat to just how they cross the street.
I would say from classical psychology, people say that the brain develops fully around 25 years old when you are. And I moved from Russia when I was 25. So I don't even feel like I lived there as an adult. at all. Of course, I can see some cultural differences, but probably I would see more if I would live there longer. I don't know, they're for sure more serious, they smile less, they're more genuine when they show sympathy. But still, like, Austin is not fake at all compared to big cities like Miami, LA, or New York, which I totally dislike.
Yeah, Austin has a real authentic vibe to it. Super authentic vibe.
Mm.
Well, I'm glad you brought your shop here. So do you have a crew, like any people on your team yet?
No, just guests. Because it's only 1 month that it's open, so I want to work with people, get along with them, see how we vibe as characters, and then slowly like make them move.
That's cool. Well, you can do a little job listing right now. Like,
what's your ideal criteria?
Yeah, what's your ideal people that want to work?
The way how it works in the studio is I sublease the place, so it has to be an artist with his own clientele, and somebody with a cool character who doesn't wake up crazy early, who doesn't drink, doesn't have addictions, ideally, and is a good artist and is willing to grow, to exchange knowledge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good luck finding no addictions in the tattoo artist world.
I know, it's hard, yeah.
I think you can do it, though. It's like if you just slowly take your time. But yeah, I remember working with so many different artists getting my own stuff done, and they would eventually like leave shops because it would just get chaotic. They would talk about all the crazy drama.
I used to have one studio in Russia with another colleague. We were two owners, and there was issues with that, so I had to leave, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like people are waking up now, even in the tattoo world, where there's a lot of artists that are now focusing on like this more personal development type of thing, and really, like, we have a friend who has a studio out in Hutto, and his studio is all about, it's kind of like a spa. It's like you walk in, you take your shoes off, and it's like a spa treatment while you're getting a tattoo, and they like meditate with you and all this stuff. And it's very kind of
interesting.
It's kind of hippie, but it's also like, wow, this is way better than there's like a kind of a grungy tattoo shop if that's not what you're into. And yeah, he like doesn't drink, doesn't party, very, very much about health and wellness. And I feel like that little spark is starting to pop up in the tattoo world where people are.
Yeah, I think there's hope.
Yeah. There's some hope, for us all.
I think so. Yeah, especially if people like you start to really individually pick the right people. Do you feel like tattooing, other than BDSM, has like a spiritual component for you?
Very likely, because it was always like a ritual since, I don't know, or not since my English, but for many years. It's been something, many ages even. It's been something ritualistic, so for sure it has some sacral or spiritual aspect. Yeah, the most I can see it in black work tattooing. I think it feels the most like a ritual or something that people like, they change immediately how they feel themselves.
Like blackout?
Getting something with heavy black, with a lot of black, or ornaments or black.
Do you think it's because for black it has to be heavier when you tattoo?
No, because for example, I was standing next to a mirror with one tattoo artist who makes black work on me. Like I do some small back piece and mostly on the neck, black work tattoo. So we were next to the mirror together, and he has a full bodysuit and black work.
Wow.
And he told me, "Do you notice your tattoos?" And I'm like, "No. When I look in the mirror, I only see his black because it's like stronger. Wow. It makes a stronger impact. I don't notice anything that's on me compared to him." Well, I still like to do realistic tattoos, and I like that people come for it, but I like to blend it together with black because it makes the look more powerful.
Do you, this is a personal question, do you recommend people wear sunscreen for their tattoos, or does it not matter in your personal opinion?
I know that if you choose the artist right, the artist has to make sure that the picture has a good, strong contrast and it is adopted for your skin type. In this case, for example, with my tattoos, I was choosing very contrast references, and even if I don't use sun protector, nothing will happen, just because the picture, how it's built, is already like holding together very well for many years. So it's mostly up to the artist. Of course, it's better to use sun protector every 2 hours when you're tanning. But is a very big part is a choice of tattoo artist.
So it really depends on how well and how the tattoo's structured color-wise. That's going to dictate how long it lasts.
Yeah, contrast-wise.
So what would then determine that it wouldn't be optimal for sun? Like how would a tattoo artist put a tattoo on someone that isn't? That
is going to be destroyed quickly?
Yeah, how would it be destroyed quickly?
It would have a lot of light colors because...
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure that this theory is right, but more or less, because nobody really studied like on micro level the tattooing. But theoretically, around every capsule of ink inside under the skin. There is built like a cage of macrophages and cells that are protecting the body, and also there is probably melanin as well. So after tanning or even before tanning, sometimes the scarring around the tattoo, around the ink, becomes brownish, or it can be like light skinned person, but the scarring becomes greenish or brownish or grayish. You never know before you tattoo somebody. So it's always better to avoid a lot of white colors and a lot of very light colors, because then if the scar tissue becomes very dark, even if you don't damage the skin, there is still this micro scarring. Even if it doesn't get too dark, it can change the tone still. And in this case, white will become darker than the next value on the picture. So for example, I had white on the highlight on the portrait, then skin tone, and then darker skin tone, and so on. And so skin tone can look lighter than the white after healing. So the tattoo artist has to avoid a lot of light colors and has to choose the contrast that works. Even if you like squint your eyes and look from far on the tattoo, you have to still see very well the shape of the object. Then it will work. Then it will stay long. Because for example, if I tan with this tattoo and all the white gets darker, still I have very dark core shadow and very strong contrast between light here and shadows and the background. So it will be still visible what is going on there.
Do you recommend touch-ups, or does that really do much?
If you touch it up more, the more you work on the white, the more scarring there will be, so the darker it will get.
The white
So
part.
with white, it doesn't make any sense yet.
Oh, interesting.
There's so much we got to learn about tattoos. Keep them safe.
I saw in your shop, too, that you're also building out a gym.
No, I'm not building it.
You're not building it?
No, there's just the access for tattoo artists that they can go work out.
Got it.
Because we always have problems with the back pain.
That's true.
So it makes a lot of sense to have a gym there. Sometimes I'm in the studio for the guest artists. I don't do much. Then I have time to go to work out, and it's very convenient.
Yeah. Are you going to mural the walls?
Sorry?
Are you going to paint the walls or put
No, I'm going to put the artwork. Yeah. Right now it's in New York because I had a personal exhibition there. And so we need to drive the paintings here in April.
I'm curious, did you get into tattooing or BDSM first?
BDSM, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And what got you interested in that right away?
There's a long story. So I was 18 years old. I got a tongue split. And then about the first year that I had it, I got a message on Russian Facebook from a guy who was older.
Is Russian Facebook different from regular Facebook?
Different, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's much more convenient, much more comfortable.
Okay.
Like easier to navigate intuitively. So one guy wrote me there. He said that he has restaurant businesses with 2 directions of kitchen. And he said he liked the idea for 2 restaurants or 2 kitchens to make advertisement using my face with 2 tongues. So he said, let's meet in person and discuss possibility of collaboration. And I told him, okay, but because he was like 50, maybe 5, and I was 18, I said, let's meet in a public place. I was scared. And he told me, I saw on your website that you save some pictures, images related to Shibari, rope bondage, Japanese rope bondage. And he found an exhibition of photo works on this subject, and he invited me there. So we went there, and all of a sudden there was a live performance. And as soon as I saw the very first emotions of the people performing, I was blown away, and that's it. Since 18, I was like partaking in a rope school as a model for many years. And then we did a lot of international performances on stages. It was very, very interesting. It was very intense. 5-6 years before I started tattooing, maybe 4 or 5.
Wow. Do you, like maybe it's a even 50-50 split, but do you have any leaning preference towards being the dom or being the sub?
Totally 50-50.
Totally 50-50.
Yeah, I think so. A little more sub, but very minor difference.
You have bipolar, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it has been like a medication, like something that's brought you more well-being and balance to yourself?
BDSM has for sure like some spiritual aspect in it, and it can be very healing. It can be also very traumatizing very easily. So it depends who you practice with and how educated the person is in it and how ethical they are. But it's hard to tell what goes first. The mental health problem, then you like BDSM, or you practice BDSM and then your mental health gets better. It's very interconnected, so it's hard to say what starts first and what helps what. So it can be both. It can destabilize you, and it also can soothe you sometimes. It depends.
Interesting. Do you think that's based on the practitioner you're working with, or just sometimes even if the person leading or you leading, even if it's perfect, can just bring things up?
Yeah, it can be very unexpectedly. Even the physical trauma can happen from rope bondage, for instance. It can happen all of a sudden for very experienced models with very experienced triggers. Riggers are the ones who are tying. The trauma can happen just any moment, and there is like no safe way to practice Shibari, only safer way. So I know people who damage their limbs, like nerves, and they had arms hanging like this for months. It's very possible in any circumstances. You can never be like insured against it or be very safe. So it's always something kind of destabilizing because you're always at risk and you're always at some extreme emotions. So I think we should ask some therapists if it helps or it's worse.
I mean, I guess unless they do studies, but I think it kind of comes down to personal, it seems like it definitely benefits your life. I would imagine, yes.
It's just interesting. It's very creative. I feel like it's way more creative. For example, if people have regular intercourse, then they just do what's written in the books, like A plus B equals C. And when you do BDSM, it comes down to super subjective experiments when you really try to focus and find out what are the deepest desires of the person, what are the deepest triggers, the most like the events that trigger the most shame and fear. So it's a game on a very thin edge with safety and satisfaction and extreme negative emotions as well.
Do you have any exercises that are pretty simple for people interested that they can do with their partner that are like really simple to just kind of experiment?
Yeah. There is Ichinaba, for example. It's a Japanese name for single rope practice. Maybe I need to take my rope and...
Sure.
So let's rope it up.
Yeah, go for it.
I love the assistant.
Спасибо. So people can buy a jute rope that is usually used the most often for Shibari. It's about 6 millimeters large, I don't know in inches, and a few, maybe 9 meters long. Then you have to like break it into half and find the middle. And then with you can learn single column tie in YouTube. There's many videos. It's called single column tie. It's how to tie one body part with a rope. So it's something like this. And then from here, people can practice like one partner gets one arm tied up. Then you can pull it to one side and then see from jujitsu how you like pull the whole body where it falls, how you can support it. And then with different pressure against the skin, you can communicate different emotions to the person. So with one single rope, you can already experiment with a very wide range of emotions. You can like scare the person, you can soothe them, you can make some unexpected moves and communicate some, like if we speak tantric language, you can communicate all 4 elements, which is fire, earth, air, and water. So water would be very wavy moves and very like calming, kind of throwing your subconsciousness to the womb when you were a baby, held inside the water and inside somebody's body and full attention. So that would be water. Fire would be some rope burns, so very quick motions that are burning the skin. Air would be something where you barely touch the skin and the person gets to play with anticipation a lot. And earth would be some grounding touch, some very solid pressure of the rope on the skin, or your body parts on their body parts, and so on. So it's a very rich exercise if people feel not shy with practicing with it. So they can just like pull the rope around the body in different directions and try to catch different body parts and compose already some positions with just one rope.
Really cool.
I could see how it can intensify the experience of being intimate with somebody because the communication has to be so just, you have to be right there with the person versus just like regular intimacy. You could kind of be out of your body.
What's your protocol before you enter the space with someone? Do you have like a fears and boundaries conversation? What does that look like?
Yeah, usually people negotiate and they go through boundaries and through desires in general. It's very important that the sub person would have the intention. They would feel very well what they would like to experience and why. And sometimes it's more the intention of like being abused by the other person, then it's not very ethically the right mindset and place maybe for it. But it has to be more built around the curiosity to self-explore or to explore the emotions that your partner can give you or experience with you. So the intention matters also, because sometimes this self-abuse can lead to a lot of negativity after you finish the session. And in general, negotiation is very important because there is, I'm not sure how to call it, but there's like a withdrawal after the session where, because during the practice, there is a part in subconsciousness and between subconsciousness and consciousness that is like a guardian that goes down when we're sleeping. So we see everything that's in the subconsciousness, but when we're awake, the guardian is there, so we don't trip on dreams. We are more like rational. So in hypnosis or in raw bondage, also this part is suppressed quite a lot. And after the session where the person experienced all the bright, strong emotions and this part turns back on, then the person starts to criticize what just happened. And this critic starts to like blame you so you start feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of negativity. And so people can crash into very depressive states. That's why aftercare is very important, and people usually like hug you or give you blankets, give you warm tea and talk to you or give you some presents. And this is also part of negotiation, is to ask how the aftercare should look like.
That's interesting that you brought that up. I've always been curious why there's that lull and that like low period after like a deep, like a BDSM experience or deep tantric experience or something like that. There's not always, but I feel like 80% of the time I've noticed the sub goes into this like almost depressive state for a couple hours, and it's really emotional. And I've always known
Can even be days.
Huh?
Can even be days.
Or days, yeah. And I've always known that it happens, but I didn't know the science behind it. So
yeah, it's important to give a very good aftercare. And I know people who often practice with one rigger or one practitioner who maybe gives spanking or some different practices, and then they crash for days because the person was not really involved with them. It was more for the show on the event or something like this. And I know the struggle that people really can go for like a week into soft depression.
Has that happened to
you? Easily. Sometime could happen, but because I got tied up for maybe 1,000 times, so for sure sometime probably it happened, yeah. But usually it's also responsibility of the sub to communicate what they would like as a aftercare. It's not always reachable though.
Yeah. And in the moment too, I feel like it's got to be difficult, like communicating when you're just in subspace. Like I just can't even talk.
Yeah.
I'm just here to be tied up. We had a Shibari person come on the podcast a while ago, and they tied us to our chairs, and we did the entire episode tied to the chairs.
How was it?
Go for it.
It was, I mean, I loved it. It was the sleepiest episode.
Yeah, we were literally falling asleep because we were like being hugged by this rope. We're like, hey, what?
It was so cozy. The whole episode sounded like this. It was just the lowest octave we could possibly be at. But yeah, it was so soothing and so calming. I want to do it not on a podcast.
I only tie people sometimes on the flights.
You'll tie
like
people up on
random
flights?
strangers, yes.
Really?
Happened a couple times, yes.
Like you bring your, that's awesome.
I
You
just
bring
have
your ropes
rope
in your bag?
in the suitcase, and then we start talking, and maybe they end up tied up for
It's a great chair to be tied up on though, because you can get around the whole thing, and you're just sitting in the plane. You're like, whatever, tie me up.
Imagine you're sitting behind them, and you just see.
Yeah.
You just offer Val just tying someone to the chair in front of them.
Offer it to parents with shitty little kids.
Yeah,
I'll tie your baby up for free.
Your baby will stop crying, I promise.
We had this idea that babies should have a helmet where they have reflected like some mirror where they see themselves and they hear themselves, but nobody else can hear them.
That's amazing.
That's a genius idea.
Channels all their chaos back to them.
Yeah, this is good. That's fun.
That's a good.
Somebody call Elon Musk. He needs to make that right now.
This is the kind of inventions we need.
Yeah, we don't need to go to Mars. We need babies that shut up.
Tone.
Nice. So what's like can you teach the watchers like a basic knot?
200 an hour.
Okay. All right, fine.
Basic knot. So first, when you do these movements, your arms have to go the full length of the rope. To not do this, to not have a smoosh from the book, but to be fully like knowing what you're doing. So like this. That's you already looking more serious.
Okay.
Then we need to find the middle with the same movement. And then how can I show it? Maybe on my leg. Then you have to slide the rope, the short end around the body part. make sure that nothing is twisted, and have the, I don't know if it's even on the video, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And have similar tension. It's important to even out all the tension. So all the 4 lanes, we get 4 at the end. They're all with even tension. Then we put this short end that is about this much out. We put it under everything, perpendicular. And when I'm teaching it, I start forgetting what to do.
Classic.
You got it.
So, yeah, around everything to catch all the rope. Yeah, now it works. Then we make a loop inside.
Mhm.
And then when we tighten it, it's better to do one by one, so it's more tight like this.
Okay.
So when we tie, we always use a double, like 2 ropes, because it gives better tension on the skin, because we don't have a goal to hurt somebody or to damage them, and they will have pain anyways. So we try to like be more gentle. So we do 2 ropes. So we did 1 time like this, and we can go 1 more time to make sure it doesn't open, and then tighten it 1 by 1. And that's it. That's the basic knot. And always has to have a little space, about 2 fingers or more.
Why do you leave a little space?
Because otherwise you can damage also nerves here around the bones, around the joints mostly is very dangerous. Yeah, so when you have space, you can always pull it away from the joint. For example, here, there's less nerves and less dangerous parts.
You got that?
I got it. I'm a pro now. What's the like most extreme of a tied up position you've been in?
I remember probably one where it's hard to explain, when I was stomach down, like face down, hips much higher than the head, arms like this, and a lot of pressure was here on the knot on the sternum. Legs were tied up somehow as well, I don't remember much, but face down, I remember I couldn't stay maybe more than 1 minute in it. It was like extremely painful on the chest, and also for arms is not very comfortable.
Wow.
It's like a predicament kind of thing, but we did it more for the photo shoot. It was very hard to stand it for a minute, yeah. Some positions you can stay long, maybe 15 minutes or even more.
Okay, so you can't be in them too long.
Yeah, ideally it's always a transition. You change positions once in a while, yeah, because the limbs get tired anyway, and the nervous system too.
Unless it's like a show and it's like I've seen, people being tied up and maybe hung from something as like a performance art piece.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how long they stay there.
Yeah, probably not.
It has to be very considerate. Yeah, they need to know very well how long they can hold it. Because usually in a good traditional show, it's always a transition, very dynamic, a lot of action.
I bet there's a pretty big community here that
huge.
Is Shibari, right?
Yeah,
yeah, like the Tantra community, BDSM community in Austin's massive.
Shibari is not too big.
Here, yeah.
Compared to Russia, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe you'll have to spark up the culture in Austin.
Maybe. First I need to figure out how to drive. Right now,
you've never driven?
You got this guy. Uber? Yeah. You don't know how to drive?
No. I was always avoiding it, and I'm very terrified of it.
Texas is everyone's going 80, 90.
Texas is an intense place to learn how to drive, but I'm sure Russia's probably.
But it's probably better than like California or
California
Russia.
is the worst.
Or Russia.
Yeah. I feel like Russia would be insane.
Russia is not the best, no.
You can figure it out.
Yeah. If you can tie up a person with a rope, you can drive a car.
Or move from Russia and move here and open a business and be successful.
Driving a car is the least of your worries.
Yeah, it's like a lot of stuff at the
same time. Have you ever tried to drive a car?
Few times, not too many.
Didn't work out?
No.
That's okay. So I'm curious, when you create art or someone comes to you, what is your creative process? Do you have...
I have a disastrous creative process.
Okay, awesome. I want to hear it.
I work best under pressure. So if it's last minute and the client is already there and he tells me like some hashtags of what he likes, like this, that, I just get it all together. And if I have inspiration, then I get an image in my head that is downloaded there, and then I can work on it. If I don't get an inspiration or an image, I just don't work. Usually I can guess it by texting already with the client. So if in text it was seeming like a good idea, then he comes into the studio, we talk, and while we're talking, I figure out what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I do some research in advance, but I work best under pressure. Unfortunately, it's a disaster.
Does it like focus your mind to have that kind of intensity of a deadline?
Yes, I think it's a typical ADHD trait to focus only when you have to focus. Now I have a car, I have to drive, but I hate the idea still. But before I just was avoiding it.
Yeah, it's the pressure that finally focuses you to get it done.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun way to live. I'm very similar. I need that
fun
intensity.
Way to live. Yeah.
I mean, also very stressful, I guess, at the same time. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think it lends itself to being very creative, though. Having that ADHD brain.
I think I should try one day medication for ADHD, and probably I would work on projects way in advance, maybe, and they would look very different. I'm not sure. There is a parallel universe where it's possible.
Maybe, but then you might lose all your creative spark.
I don't think so. But maybe, because I never tried it. I only tried a year ago medication for bipolar for the first time. ADHD we didn't touch yet with my therapists.
What made you decide to finally go on medication?
I had no choice because I wasn't really like functioning. It was a mixed episode that I had for the first time where you have manic symptoms and depressive symptoms at the same time. And it's very dysfunctional condition where you just cannot. So I had to take pills.
What's that like to be manic and depressive at once?
Where you have a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of anxiety, but at the same time you have tons of energy to make actions, to start. Like I had racing ideas. I was about to start businesses, moving, different things. But at the same time, you're very, very negative and self-criticizing and feeling a lot of guilt and weird emotions for no reason. And then you're looking for reasons why you feel like that. But it's only like hormonal, very strong disbalance. That in my case, it's triggered usually by just exhaustion and stress.
So when your health or well-being is out of alignment, it just exacerbates it a lot.
It like collapses, yeah.
What do you do to keep your health in alignment?
When you're in this condition, I would say meditation and therapists and breath work, it doesn't work at all. Zero. You just need meds. Because of course I tried all of it. I tried like 5-HTP and different natural medication more and breathing and meditating and yoga. It relaxed me maybe for 20 minutes, like yoga. After yoga, 20 minutes were good, and then again the same. So it was a disaster. And before I wasn't always like skeptical to pills, but now not anymore.
Well, it seems like life's much different now for you.
I went off 2 months ago because I felt good already. And after 2 months with studio driving and learning one new skill for marketing, I realized that I need pills again. So hopefully in the future, life will get easier, which seems like with age it never does. But who will know? We'll see.
Yeah, you'll get there. I mean, we all have struggles that we all have to face, whether it's mental or physical or whatever it is. I think that's life. Is everyone's trying to figure out how to balance themselves and walk that tightrope of just being healthy in whatever way that is, mentally, physically, spiritually. So this just happens to be yours, and everybody's got their own individual thing they're always kind of battling. But I imagine that I'm not saying that yours sounds challenging, and it sounds like it's getting better. So that's exciting. And you've been very successful, it seems, despite having maybe having to deal with your emotions being in different places.
Yeah, I feel like it's a struggle still, of course.
For sure. For sure. But very impressive with obviously your creativity and the work you've done and living in different parts of the world. So, something to be proud of about that.
Thank you.
So that's great. Yeah, it's great.
The amount of people that would let that keep them down and just sit in the darkness and really not do anything with it is probably the majority.
It's tempting to do that.
I believe it. Right. But you got the willpower. Maybe it's that Russian grit that keeps you.
I saw some researches that there is no willpower, but I don't know.
There's no such thing as willpower?
No.
Doesn't exist?
I saw some research. I don't know if it's true.
What does that mean? It doesn't exist.
They say that the brain takes decision 2 seconds before you realize it or something like that. So everything is just a program and you just watch. There's no willpower.
You just decide what to do every 2 seconds?
You just decided what you will say before you decided what you will say. Your brain decided for you.
Oh, really? It's already, you're just living the program.
The signal is there before you figure out I thought this.
Oh, interesting.
So what willpower if it's all just running by itself? All this simulation.
Is that what you think? We're in a
I don't know.
simulation?
No, I don't know what it is.
Do you think we're in a simulation?
I know that I don't know.
All right.
That's my position. I'm more like, speaking of philosophy, I'm more a hedonist. So like I don't really care about religion or stuff like that. I just know that I don't know.
You're a hedonist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only common sense for me.
What is
all
the
what's going
definition
on.
of that?
Just live life.
Philosophy of somebody who seeks pleasure, and who is able to deny smaller pleasures for the sake of bigger pleasures. It's just like a healthy egoism.
That's a hedonist?
A hedonist, yeah. Which is funny because I've always heard that hedonism is more about short-term pleasure, but you're saying it's more about being able to sacrifice short-term for long-term
Probably
pleasure.
depends on the character. But the global idea is everything centered around pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely fall into more of that category.
I feel like everything what people do is only for their own pleasure. Like if they say, no, I do it for somebody, it's not like this because they get gratification from providing some stuff for somebody. It's for them.
Yeah, do you think there's really no such thing as altruism?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither.
Good.
Like at the core, there's always a reason.
Yeah, like I'm going to go feed 1 million homeless people. It's for the homeless people, but really you're getting something from it.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't mean it's bad. Like doesn't mean don't go feed homeless people. But like in your heart, you're feeling good about it. So really you're kind of doing it.
You're getting some dopamine kick.
Totally. It's not like if feeding homeless people killed you and you still did it, then maybe you're like fully altruist.
Yeah, there are some patriotic people, for example.
Yeah.
But then it's maybe libido martido by Freud, where you're like life instinct and death instinct. Maybe they just had this strong death instinct.
Yeah.
Or something.
Maybe.
Do you have thoughts about what happens after
we
die?
I think some sort of reincarnation, unfortunately, probably.
Unfortunately? Why? You think you've been bad and you're going to get turned into a
sometimes
mouse?
It's exhausting, all this stuff.
Living? Yeah.
Sometimes. Because I saw interviews with like women who are 94 years old and she's like, I don't have much left on the earth and I don't regret it. I don't know. I think we're reborn and that's why babies are crying and screaming.
They're like, fuck, I got to do it again.
Yeah, terrified.
I think about that sometimes too. I'm like, I don't want to do this all over again. It took so long to get to this point.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
I don't want to do this all over again.
It's not very positive of us, but sometimes it is what it is.
I guess if the Buddhist philosophy is you're trying to get out of that loop, right? But I think at the end of the day, who knows what happens. I always sometimes I watch like different Instagram or TikToks and I'm like, please give me that life in the next life. There's this little kid riding horses when he's like 5. He just lives on a ranch. Or I would love to come back as a house cat.
Good life.
I mean, that would be so good.
That's probably the top, like right under Nirvana. Like you live a human life a couple times. When you're finally good enough, you become a
TikTok famous house cat.
You're a TikTok famous house cat. Although I do think, again, there's obviously no evidence for this. I'm with you on the fact that there's probably reincarnation, just because you ever meet a human being and you're like, this is your first time on Earth, isn't it? Like some people, you can tell they've been around, they've like maybe lived a few lifetimes, they're a little more wise.
That I don't think so.
Sometimes you meet a person, you're like, wow, you're so dumb. This is your first. This is your first time being human.
That's just the brain that they got.
Their energy's old, but their brain's just started.
I feel like some people pop into Earth, they're already kind of like, they're like, oh, I've been a human like twice already. I get it. Some people, it's their first run. Who knows?
So Roy, one of my buddies, my sister's fiance, he was telling me about this conference that happens down in Vegas. I think it's called Mars. And I think it's where all the great minds meet for like AI. And there's this kid who graduated from college at 12 years old. And they designed this robot that in 12 tries, I guess water mechanics are really hard for robots to figure out. They fill a water bottle and after 12 tries of like readjusting the robot, recalibrating, it can land a water bottle with water and different amounts of water, like to the exact centimeter.
You mean like this?
Exactly.
I'm an AI robot. I haven't quite figured it out yet.
I know. He's my sex robot.
I'm the BDSM robot.
Yeah. Hey, BDSM robot is not a bad idea.
It's not bad.
Awesome. What is your shop called again?
Sharp Objects.
Sharp objects. Where on Congress is it exactly?
St. Elmo Street and South Congress.
Awesome. What's right next to it, by the way?
I know there is a strip club.
Is it really? What's the strip club?
It's not very close though.
Okay.
Very close. There is not much. There's some hair salons. I don't know because I'm new in the city. I'm not really sure what's
Okay,
there.
for sure.
And I don't drive.
Okay, South Congress and St. Elmo.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you're looking for artists and you're looking for people to tattoo.
Yeah.
Are your books pretty full?
1-2 months usually in advance is the booking.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing everything. It's
Thank
awesome.
you too.
Yeah, thank you, Val. Thanks for teaching us the simple ties that we can now use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out where people can connect with you, whether they're an artist or want to book with you and they can follow you.
Yeah, best way is Instagram.
What is your handle?
Val Tadboo with Val_Tadboo.
Deadpool.
Tatboo.
You've been messaging her this whole time, Brett.
Yeah.
This is why Brett's not allowed to say names. We'll link it in the description. People can find it.
I can see pictures and I'm like, oh, I know who that person is, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, quick talk on brains. Brains are hilarious. I'm super fascinated by brains because everybody has a different like superpower, and like we have our strengths and weaknesses. Brent's strength is ideas, always thinking of ideas. But you give him anything with words, and it's just gone. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
Reading level of a 5-year-old.
Like we'll hang out with somebody and he's like, what do you think about John? And I'm like, who the fuck's John?
Yeah, someone he's known for years. Just like, doesn't know his name. If it's written, it doesn't exist. Anyways, thank you, Val. It was great to meet you.
Thank you.
And I hope your books fill up to the next 4 years and you find the perfect people to come work in your studio.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.